Good day everyone, so as you can see on screen, someone has asked me to explain in a bit more detail how Nilou and Kirara teams work, and I think we can tackle the first half of a Spiral Abyss for this purpose. Builds are at the end of this video, and these units are for the most part at C0 using 4-star weapons, so hopefully you guys will find this video interesting, and let's just get into it straight away. Just do note that this is a video that I'll stop and start and stop and start and play in slow motion, so this is more of a VOD type video instead of a fully uninterrupted playthrough. Just keep that in mind. So straight away, if you are running this team, you want to run towards the back here, and what you can do is you can then tag all of the enemies with Nahida, and because the Whopper flowers are at a distance, they will go underground and pop up right where you are. Now if you are someone that has the key on Nilou, which I do not have in this case, you would first use Kokomi and then Nilou, but because I don't have the key, I can just immediately set up here with Nilou. It doesn't matter that I'm not hitting these enemies because she has a 4-star weapon. So here we go, we set up and we're now going to start hitting the enemies. If you can get it, you want to try and see if you can reduce all of their health evenly. So you want to beat all 3 of these enemies at the same time. It's kind of important because if you don't do so, then the enemies that are going to come afterwards will come in like a staggered set of waves, and that makes it just that much harder. Because you don't have an animo unit or someone that can group the enemies, we have to rely on the natural grouping of the AI and so on. So here you can see we've taken care of the enemies, so we are quite lucky we took care of them, and then the others are spawning there in the background. So you'll notice I'm here towards the edge. They're going to go underground. They're going to come towards us here. We're going to iframe with Nilou, doesn't matter. And then the final enemy should pop up. So I've got 3 enemies once again in a very close proximity to where I am. And this is just so good for Nilou Bloom teams because we can then hit all of them at the same time and just take care of them, which will just be so much beneficial. If you don't take care of them at the same time, then you'll have a remaining enemy, and of course this will just make it a bit harder for you, or just take more time off the clock from you. Right, so that is the Whopper flowers. They're pretty easy. In terms of these little triangles, what you want to do is come either here towards the left or to the right side, and what you'll notice is that they will start coming in towards you. They'll naturally group like the Whopper flowers towards your position, and this is very good. So you can spend a bit of time here for setup. You can see here I set up my Nahida, I set up my Nilou, and what we'll now be able to do is just run here towards the middle of them and do what we do based on Nilou Bloom teams and just absolutely destroy them. So this is the power of AoE. As long as I tag one of them, you can see all of them are just going to get hit, and it's just so easy. So all of them taken care of at the same time, and there you go. That is ideally how you wish to do this. And then of course here are the final set of enemies. So in terms of the Nilou rotation, there's nothing really that strict. In terms of this floor, you really want to focus on your positioning more so than the order in which you're applying the elements. So I think when we get to the Consecrated beast, you'll see that the order really does matter a bit more, but here it's all just about positioning, and then you can take care of them. You can see here this is just an absolutely normal Nilou, a 7k hit, 13k hit on the alt. This is pretty expected. I don't think any of this is beyond what most people would be able to do. Yeah, but look at that, take care of them, and I think in a good time. So 1 minute and 50 seconds left for the second half should definitely be doable for most people. So there's no real technique here, but now we can go to the Consecrated beast, and obviously this is where things get quite a bit more fun. So what do you do with the Consecrated beast? Well, in my opinion, you just start off as usual. We're going to use our E abilities, and then we're going to set up here with Kokomi and then a Nilou. So this is the pattern I would play also on my main account. And then we are going to go to Kirara, Elemental Burst, and then a quick flip of the shield. So this is what I love about Kirara. You literally press your E ability, she does a very quick backflip, and you have an instant shield. It's just so good. But you can now hopefully appreciate what's happening. We've got all of this Hydro and Dendro on the field, so we are maximizing Dendro Core Bloom like production and so on, and that just means we are hitting these enemies very hard. Now the positioning here is very tricky because the enemies can scatter out, so they can they can, as you can see, this enemy is going to push us, the other enemy is going to stay at the back. So it's definitely possible for you to lose your foothold. What you want to try and do is bait the enemy. So even though it looks bad, oh my god, Kokomi was hit, what we've done is we've baited that enemy to hit us towards the other enemy, and that's actually generally what you want to try and do. You want to try and keep these two as closely grouped up as possible, because that's how you'll be able to take them out. And here we go, we're just doing the normal thing. So I'm doing Kirara stuff here. I'm first like going wide, and then I'm choosing one enemy to tag. If you have to choose between these two, always go for the Dendro one, because the other one is, as you can see, will start like coming in towards your position, and you'd much rather try and damage the Dendro enemy because he's got a much higher resistance. So here the enemies are just pushing us here against the boundary, which is absolutely perfect because now we've got them cornered. Kokomi using the sacrificial fragments, which is absolutely awesome. This allows us to reposition our jellyfish more often. And then I'm just going to tag them here with Dendro, with Kirara and Nilou. So Kirara obviously crashing into them, providing lots of Dendro. And the benefit of doing this with Kirara is that you can, even if you don't have visibility, you can have a good shot of damaging the little tiger with his Dendro ability. So that's kind of cool. And yeah, as you can see, just careful grouping, and you take care of both of them in about roughly 42 seconds. Remember, these are underbuilt characters, so you should ideally aim for about like 35 seconds, my bad. Right, as with these enemies, we're just going to do the exact same thing. We're going to tag them, and I'll play the footage in a bit more of like real time. So here we go, we tag them. And we do all sorts of things, Kirara, and then we just iframe, doing a bit of like positioning. See, Kokomi is low on health. We move here, elemental burst, get the tag from the jellyfish, and now we can use again our jellyfish. This is what's so good about the sacrificial fragments. Once you recast it, every time you recast it, it will instantly heal Kokomi, so that's very, very good. But it shows you the value of building your Kirara for these teams, because if you have that Dendro shield, you have less of a chance that any one of your characters can lose their health. So this is what's cool about Kokomi, and why I recommend a hybrid build. You have the HP pool to tank, so even if Kokomi is in the red health, it's still okay. And yeah, all we're going to sort of try and do here is heal up our Kokomi a bit more, keep her on field, there's nothing really to worry about. Tag the enemies here of Nihida, do a little Nilou dance, and then just Kirara shoot, and in this case just then do a little backflip, and then take care of the enemies. So that's generally what you want to do. I didn't find this to be very, very difficult, so with a bit of better grouping we could have done this in about 1 minute 30, but that is what you want to do. I think 1 minute 30 is more than enough time for Iniquitous Baptist. If not, then I don't know how you've beaten the first floor, but if you've beaten the first floor very, very, very convincingly, this should be more than enough time. But this is generally what you want to do with Nilou team, so let me play this at a bit of like full speed. As you can see, so here we are, going to do this, and then Kokomi, Nilou, Kirara, Elemental Burst, Elemental Skill, and then it's just a mix of applying the Dendro and the Hydro, maximizing Dendro core production, hitting the enemies, refreshing the jellyfish, getting pulled out, baiting the other one in, and then that's just like how the pattern goes. And as you'll note, none of the damage that I'm doing to these enemies is particularly high. I don't have any Abyss buffs really, so you can see here there's nothing. I think the buffs we had were like Elemental Burst heals and so on, and like 20% Elemental Skill damage, or I can't even remember, but there are no significant buffs, and it's just all about how you stand, where you position, and you can have like very, very good success, despite the fact that these floors were a bit like made for Nilou not to do well because of the Dendro Tiger, Dendro Chicken, and the sort of really weird positioning of the other enemies. But yeah, guys, so that's what I wanted to sort of explain to you. Basically, for this current Spiral Biz, the emphasis is not really that much in terms of the order in which you apply these abilities, but it's more so how you can use your abilities to position correctly and then damage the enemies at the same time. So this is more of a positioning abyss than really an elemental application abyss, which is what we covered in the previous videos. But overall, this is what Kirara enables. I'm so happy with the unit. I think if I had to do this with Kole, it would have been perhaps slightly faster, but it's certainly not as comfy. So Kirara in this sort of Nilou Bloom team, absolutely awesome. And yeah, if you've been watching until this point, thank you so much for watching, and the builds will be right now.